In a command and control environment, we now have some other complications. So if you think of that command and control, you've got maybe a very wide room. So someone like Maaz is going to say like, hey, how big is your room? And we might say that this is 50 feet wide. That's a bit insane, but let's just say it's 50 feet wide. And then we're just going to keep on adding columns. So here we've run into our power limit. So if you get this message that the total quantity of cabinets cannot be used, it's because power, always look to the right. If you're seeing this coming close to 60, that means we've run into our power limit and we need to up the voltage. So let's go ahead and do that. We will run into another challenge, which I'll show you in a second, which is we're going to keep on going. But for command and control, we do prioritize resolution as well. So it's not just about viewing distance, and sometimes they are going to be close to it. We want to make sure that we can see this content in high resolution. So we're going to increase the pixel pitch, and then we're going to do that hidden again. So it says this installation type is not supported. The reason why is because the control box can handle 8.2 million pixels. You don't need to remember that, but that's what it can handle. Yeah. That's when we now need to start using multiple control boxes. So we're going to go to our rack mount. This is the introduction to this. So instead of having that control bar that looks like a speaker bar, we're going to go to our rack mount control box. This can handle more pixels. It can handle 9.3 million pixels, but we can also stack them. And so once we start get to higher resolutions, this is when we're going to then move into multiple control boxes, and these do get more complicated. So again, we're here to walk you through them, but wanted to call that out, that once you start doing that, if you see that, then it's the resolution is too high and we need to go ahead and increase it. So we have our wall size, really long, we can put a lot of information on it. Another thing we need to consider now is the control bar is typically right with the direct view. Mm-hmm. The rack mount is not, obviously. It's going to be in the rack room or wherever that rack is. So we also need to know how long it's going to be. Part of the rack mount and what makes it unique is that we do have pre-configured, pre-terminated power cables. So it's going to make it a lot easier to get the power there versus you going like directly into the circuit breaker. So we're going to say for this, though, that we're between 60 to 150 feet. So if you don't know how long, go with the longer one, and then we can refine it from there. But always best to kind of plan for the worst, and then you can always take it down. You'd rather do that than find out, get on site and find out. Too short. Yeah, be too short. Yeah. That's a much worse problem to have. But to go over some considerations for this, we can see pretty crazy aspect ratio, right? And again, imagine that environment. What's something else we imagine with a command and control environment? We're showing a lot of sources on there at the same time. So something Maaz will ask is, okay, how many sources do you want to show up there? And this is, again, where it starts to get more complicated. Two things are going to be happening here. One is when we have multiple control units, that means each one of these is going to be driving a portion of the video. We need to figure out a way to stitch those together. And that's when we start needing to bring in like third-party image processing solutions, video wall processing solutions. Also, when we need to show multiple images out of the box, we can show 4 at the same time. In command and control environment, though, that will not be enough. It needs to show many more sources. So there, now we need to start introducing, okay, we've got some image processing considerations we need to make. Maybe we need to bring in a partner, work with the integrator or someone to look at, okay, what's going to be the best solution? Because now this needs to live together with other solutions to give you what you need. So it's just part of that bigger conversation. We're happy to get on those joint calls. So as part of that design consultation, we're happy to get on with other manufacturers that are providing those video processing solutions, those image processing solutions. There's many of them out there. So we're always happy to collaborate with them to work on what that best solution is going to be and then how it would need to integrate with our solutions in order to make it work. Yeah, anything else we should probably consider for something like command and control?
Well, we discussed the multi-view inputs.
Yeah.
Matrix.
What about if we need to control this and we need to like recall inputs and things like that? Is that something we can do with our direct views? Control systems.
Control systems, yeah. We've got fully integrated control systems, whether it's RS-232 or over IP.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. RS-232 or IP. We're
Crestron, Extron, everybody. QSys, everybody out there we can integrate with.
Yeah, we recently got our QSys certification on it as well. So, but yeah, any of the major control manufacturers you can use to control these. So if we need to switch inputs or move things around, we can certainly do that as well. We can look at a couple things here, like the screen resolution is pretty wonky. You know, obviously the aspect ratio is going to be pretty out of control. We can almost ignore it at this point. The important thing is going to be to go in there and make sure that we have that image processor that's going to be capable of doing that. Again, I flew through here because it's pretty easy to get that going once we know things like the dimensions, how much available space, how many sort, you know, that kind of thing. We can go through here pretty quickly.